In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I found purpose in my business after such a long time of struggle and pain and trying to find meaning in a place where meaning did not exist. Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab along with my incredible wife Tatum, and our mission is to empower individuals and businesses around the world to act in a way that pursues Christ-likeness in everything that you do, from business to parenting to work to finances, to health to fitness to your hobbies. We want to show you how you can do this and to inspire you and to help and guide you as you go on your journey. So for my videos, I am focusing mostly on business at the moment, my own personal transformation. I went from hitting a financial milestone that I had set myself for 7 years, and suddenly, unexpectedly, completely out of the blue, I found myself making the amount that I was after. The irony was that just 2 or 3 months prior, when my wife gave birth, we had virtually no money in the bank and we were struggling financially, and then by some miracle things changed, and we built ourselves some level of financial security. Again, by some miracle, we managed to make some prudent investments with our extra cash, which paid off, and so we were extremely lucky in how we reached the destination that we reached, and then I started to set myself the goal of hitting the next financial target, because I had nothing else to aim for, which was more than double what I had been aiming for the previous 7 years. And then I set up my marketing agency and tried so desperately then to go from freelancer to someone that owns a business, which was a huge transition, which I frankly wasn't prepared for, especially with a newborn baby in the house. That was a little bit difficult to manage. It was our first child. My wife took a relatively long time to recover from giving birth, and the body going back to normal and with the sleep. But we set up the business, and we all of a sudden we go from freelancer, where you do everything yourself, or perhaps you have a virtual assistant to help you along the way, to a business owner where not only do you have to deliver services and results to clients who have bought and invested in your high ticket offer, you also have to manage all of the other aspects of the business as well, such as the administration, and you have to try to build a team around that. We have the finances and trying to manage the finances and the company finances and trying to get that in order. We've then got people like the company secretary that we've got to deal with, and various payments for this and this, and stay on top of all of the legal side of operating a company. We then have to figure out how to build our own funnels, and then it's creating content to promote the business, and then it's doing social media stuff and outreach and all of these different things, and simultaneously trying to build a team, which suddenly it really did feel like I was drinking from a fire hose, especially going from a freelancer where all I had to do was, I was a person that was finding the clients, and then I got pretty good at a system that I'd developed, where I would sell them on a low priced offer, deliver a result faster than they expected, give them an exceptional service, and then I would upsell them into a higher priced offer, and then deliver on that, and then I'd upsell them into a monthly retainer based offer, and then I'd just tend to stick with one client over the long term, because that's naturally the way that who I was. So I like the long term nurturing, building relationships and all of this stuff. Then as a business owner, I couldn't really focus entirely on that. Everything was pulling me in every direction, and well, we reached a point where my main client, suddenly they ended the contract, and the irony is, the irony is that this was one of the first significant milestones in my journey, because, well, up until that point, everything I did was transactional. All of the things I had studied and learned about business, marketing, email marketing, selling, funnels, copywriting, all of this stuff, how to make irresistible offers. Well, it was by studying and learning about things that are in the business world, things that are in the copywriting world, and well, everything there. The area where I specialised was direct response copywriting, which the purpose of direct response copywriting is you are using writing in order to get someone to take action, and that action is to move them closer to a sale or a buying decision, which 100% is transactional. The only purpose of this email, for example, is to get someone to click the link. The only purpose of the link, or the content that's behind the link, is there to monitor who has clicked the link, so we can follow up with them and retarget them later with a more nuanced message based on their behaviour that they click the link. Or the next piece of content they click might be a video, and the goal of the headline is to get people to watch a video, and then the goal of the first 10 seconds is to hook them so they continue watching, and then the goal of the end of the video is to get people to book a call or click to a sales page or do this or opt into it. You know what I mean? 100% transactional. Nothing to do with how can this individual piece of content benefit the person who's going to read it? How can I be a blessing to the person who receives this email today and inspire them? None of that. It's how can I get the person who is reading this content that I've mass produced using AI or whatever it is, in order to get them to move closer to a buying decision so they buy my product and I get their money, is essentially what it is. And that's what I learned. I invested, well, the 10,000 hour rule of, learning to master a skill. I put more than that into copywriting, what I did over the last decade, because I've always been the person that's studious and I wanted to learn, and I can get a bit obsessive about it. But I'm more than happy to be learning from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, and discussing ideas and just talking about it. It energizes me, it empowers me. I just love it. So I spent a lot of time learning and training and studying, coaching, paying consultants to help me and give me advice and all these things. Everything was based around what I've just described. The sort of spirit of the marketplace is making money, making money, making money. And then beyond that is, what return on investment can I get? Profit and loss statements, percentage growth, percentage profit margins, revenue, increasing quarterly, all of these things. Well, with my main client, one day, I think this was a month or two after Christmas, and the client contacted me on Slack out of the blue saying that he's very sorry, but he's going to be ending my contract at the end of the month. He was gracious enough to pay me 1 month sort of salary, or pay me until the end of the month, I think, so I could find another client, and all of these things. So he was extremely gracious to do that, and I actually renegotiated the contract, which was beneficial to him and to me. Well, the reason, and this was the first milestone that took me on the journey of searching for purpose and things, is that he said to me that sales are low. What tends to happen in our business is, as you know, Sam, because I've worked with them for a while, is that when people book a call, so let me just quickly summarise what I did for context. It was, I manage their email marketing, and I did their email marketing so they can get booked calls for their, I think it was $5,000 group coaching program, and because of the size of the business, I think their monthly expenses were about $300,000 per month, and so they needed to make at least $330,000 per month in order just not to get into the red. They had to have that 10% buffer margin, with the cash reserves and different things. And well, I was told that, well, yes, you've been sending us book calls based on the calculations and what we agreed in your contract. In order for you to over deliver, you need to get on average one book call per day. I think it was 30 book calls per month, and at the conversion rates of that, of their typical conversion rates where they convert to their 1 in 4, 1 in 3, it means that you are getting 7 or 8 people into the program per month, which means you're making us $35,000 to $40,000 per month directly from you, which, in the grand scheme of things, given the size of the business, wasn't really much. And obviously that was just this particular month. What I gave them and what I delivered them was much higher than that. On average, because some months, one month we made $250,000 directly from what I did. So it kind of averages out throughout the year based on the natural buying tendencies of I won't go into the weeds. And so I was told that, well, all these book calls that you gave us in December, our sales team didn't convert. Why? I asked. What's that got to do with me? Why has I had agreed upon targets for me to deliver you a specified return on investment? Why is my performance, what's that got to do with the sales team? Oh, the owner replied, well, I know it's not fair, nothing to do with you, you've done a great job in over delivering, but the fact of the matter is that it was Christmas and the sales team were on Christmas mode and they were not converting at the same percentage as they were before. I've spoken to the sales team about it and they admitted, but it is what it is. So because we had a lower number of sales in December, he said, it means that 2 months later we haven't got the predicted amount of revenue in, and we're in the red, basically, he said. And so the way that it works in the business is we have to get rid of contractors first because, well, you're a contractor and you could quite easily come back when we've got the cash flow, rather than getting rid of permanent staff that we've had to pay to train and all of these things. And so that was it. So this was a massive wake-up call to me because my performance was, my performance was great. I had, on average, if my target was to get 30 book calls for a month, my average throughout the year was, 45 to 50 per month. So pretty much, almost double what I was supposed to be giving them. But because their sales team were, it's Christmas, I'm travelling back to see my family and all of these things, they weren't scheduling as many calls, they weren't following up as much, they weren't having the sales conversations. I go, I can't blame the company owner for it, but because he's operating a business, right? You can't keep spending money in a business if you're not getting that return on investment, and you can't keep spending money and paying for things if you are potentially going to have to borrow money from the bank just to pay for your monthly expenses. It doesn't make sense. So that was the first major turning point for me. And you know, that really was, in hindsight, the moment when I realised that my business needed to change, because it just wasn't fair, and I couldn't understand why. Well, fast forward a couple of years, and I understand exactly why now, and the reason is because without my awareness, I was operating in a transactional world, in a transactional business world. Everything, my own marketing, based on everything that I'd learned and gone through over the previous several years, was always focused on return on investment, how this person got a 7x ROI in 14 days, these kind of things. I used to brag about the big month I got for the client where we made $250,000 in a single month. Yeah, that was down to my strategy. But what I don't tell people is that, well, the only reason that I made them that much money in a single month is because they were a business that was their target. Their target by the end of the year was to hit $10 million, right? So $250,000 compared to $10 million, which is how much the company was doing, it ain't really that big. And then what I also didn't tell people was that I'm selling a $10,000 program for them, and they were going to stop doing that $10,000 program, and this is your last chance to join, otherwise you're going to miss out forever because you're stopping doing it. And what I also didn't say is that instead of doing this over on a single month, this was sort of like a promotion at the end of the quarter. So instead of, if this would have been a month-to-month thing, it would have been $80,000 per month is what I would have made them, which again, based on the number of book calls I was getting and based on their conversion rates that the sales team had, it was a kind of normal thing, but we just decided to do it all in one promotion instead of focusing on 3 months. So we just had that 3-month runway in order to get people aware that the program's going to end, you've got to buy now or you're going to miss out. And I also didn't tell people that their email list had about 30,000 people and they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads per month to get people onto the email list after they've booked a call and had an initial consultation. Anyway, that's a side tangent that I didn't want to go on, but just wanted to be honest about what I did and what my abilities were, and that this is the kind of things that I spoke about without giving the full context, without giving the full story. It's just, you just focus on this result. And so what does that do? Well, this is the lesson that I learned. If I'm putting all of this out in my marketing to get clients to my business, them coming to me expecting money, the initial relationship is based 100% on money. So by the nature of how I started the interaction, all they expect from me is to make them more money. And so therefore, as a result of that, they're treating me like a commodity. They're treating me in the same way that they would with Google or Facebook when they're running ads. They expect a certain return on investment from my services every single month, otherwise I'm a complete failure to them. When things in their business don't work, they then look at their profit and loss statements, and then they find where the biggest expenses are, and then they have to cut costs, and then they'll just cut you instantly like that. And of course, that's exactly why it happened, but I did not know. And it's not just that clients were doing it to me, it's I were doing it to the freelancers that work for me as well, without even realising it. And it's everything starts off as a cost per hour. And of course, if you're paying someone an amount per hour, and that's the only reason why they came applied for your job. You know, you put on Upwork or whatever platform, and people are applying for your job. Quite frankly, out of the 50 people or more that had applied for your job on Upwork, not many of them even care about what you do or what your business is. I know I certainly didn't when I used Upwork to get clients. All I cared about was how can I make that client more money by selling their high price stuff so they can pay me more money, and then the freelancers that I work with on Upwork after jobs I posted, when I put down what my business was and what I wanted to do and what I thought I wanted to do, because I just kept flip-flopping all the time, I was the definition of shiny object syndrome without even realising it, while actively positioning myself against people that do that. So that was me. They didn't care what I did. All they cared about was how much money they'd make from me. So everything is completely and utterly built on transactions. Of course, this is why I was struggling. Because deep down here, I want to help people. I want to use my service in order to benefit people. You know, for someone that's studious and likes studying and learning, I'm diligent, I'm conscientious, and I generally take care and pride in the work that I do. I've always had the pursuit of excellence as one of my objectives. I want to get better at what I do. I want to become the best that I can be at whatever skill or whatever it is that I do. So I always put a lot of time and effort in, but clients didn't really care about that. Of course they didn't. All they cared about was on the bottom line. So that's when I realised what the problem was. And so when I realised what the problem was, I started then to try to find meaning into the work that I did. Again, there was a fundamental problem. And the fundamental problem there is that at the time I was an atheist. And I was as an atheist, I was searching for meaning and purpose in what I did. Well, the thing is, from the atheist perspective, meaning and purpose is self-constructed. It means that you as an individual create your own meaning and purpose by the goals that you set yourselves and the accomplishments that you do. So the only purpose of my marketing agency was to make money. In particular, it was to hit my next financial target after I'd achieved some level of financial security, and I'd achieved the first financial target. I didn't have to worry about money anymore. I wasn't having sleepless nights about money. I was able to go out, and we live in Malaysia where the cost of living is much lower. I would not have been able to do this back in the UK or in other countries. You know, we can go out and we can buy, we go out and we pay for meals and things, and it might come to $20 if we're taking friends out, maybe a bit more if we go to a nicer place. We're able to do that, and we're very happy to do that. We don't have to worry about the bill, we don't have to worry about splitting the bill, and all of this we just pay for people, which is something that Tattoo and I, we want to do, because people have done that for us in the past and people have been generous to us, so we reciprocate, we do it back now. So that's the level of our financial security. It's not we're driving around in a brand new Mercedes-Benz, or we've got all of these other things, but we're able to live the life we want, a comfortable life that we want, without worrying about money. So the next goal I set myself was more than double what my first goal was. Well, according to the atheist worldview, if I self-construct meaning based on my own goals, I'm now trying to put meaning and purpose into the next financial goal. There is no meaning and purpose in making more money, because the reason I wanted more money was so I can have more freedom and a higher quality lifestyle. What does that mean? It means that, one, I want to have more money so that other people's decisions don't negatively affect me or my family, which I think that's actually a good one, because you want your independence. You don't want your life to be dictated by others, which, other humans. That was a good one, and I still stand by that today. The other one was for lifestyle. So what was my definition of lifestyle? So, and this is where I was trying to find meaning and purpose. My definition of lifestyle is I want to go on holiday every 6 weeks for the break. I want to travel more. I want to eat out at hotel restaurants and eat out more. I want to be able to give my kids the best education and the best things that I can. I want to be able to have more time to do the things that I want to do. Okay, fair enough. Well, I had the means to go on holiday every 6 weeks anyway, because, what's the definition of a holiday? It's not, you don't have to go to a 5-star resort. It's just, you want to go on holiday. The purpose of wanting to go on a holiday every 6 weeks is to give yourself that mental reset, is to get out of your normal routine for a few days, so you have fresh perspective. That's why. Could do that now, but we don't. Travel more, okay? At the time, we wanted to travel more, but we didn't travel at all. Even though we had the money to do it, we didn't travel at all. So I expect that making more money, I'm going to travel more. When I don't travel now, of course, it's just this fantasy that you put in your head. Of course, you're not going to travel more, because the more money that you make, the more money that you're managing in your business, the more clients that you're going to have by its very nature, the more pressure, stress that you're going to have as an individual. So, you want to do all these things for lifestyle, but you're not actually going to do it because you're too busy. And because you're chasing money, and money has become an idol, the fear of loss is greater than the fear of gain. And so the more money you have, the more anxious you are about losing it. And so the more you're going to hoard it. So the less you're going to spend on holidays and travel, the less you're going to spend on doing the things that you want to do, and the less time that you have, because you're going to be busier and busier and more stressed. Well, that's the reality of setting yourself the next goal. Where's the meaning and purpose in that? There is none. So, from the atheist perspective, you're trying to construct some kind of meaning and purpose in an arbitrary goal that you've set yourself, in order to achieve some kind of arbitrary description of a future life that you want, which you're not currently living, that you expect that you're going to somehow step into, and magically all these things are going to fall into place. It's just not going to happen. And so I desperately was searching for meaning and purpose in a goal that inherently had no meaning and purpose. Hitting financial security, sure, that has meaning and purpose. That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've got to have food and shelter before you can start philosophizing about the meaning of life. You've got to get your basic provisions under control first, and that's mimicked in scripture as well. So, hitting financial security, getting your business to operate, inherently is meaningful. But then the next arbitrary financial goal that you set yourself for freedom and lifestyle, which was entirely me, does not have meaning and purpose. And that was when I was desperately kind of lost and searching, and I spent probably a year, maybe more than a year, working with coaches, trying to figure things out. But by the definition, I'm trying to find meaning and purpose in something that doesn't have it. And that was basically everything with my former marketing agency. And then I went through a series of events which that led me to becoming a Christian. And then instantly I seemed to have clarity in what meaning and purpose meant. Instantly I seemed to have clarity in why my former marketing agency did not work. Instantly I understood why. And then everything kind of fell into place, which was the birth of Kingdom Impact Lab. And the framework that I developed for myself while I was undergoing this transformation and figuring things out, this is the same framework that I'm trying to condense into a short 6-week program to help other Christian entrepreneurs that might feel the same, that you've hit some kind of financial success, but you're operating your business in the secular transactional marketplace and you can't find meaning in hitting the next goal. And this framework shows you exactly how you can do that. And the way to do it is by pursuing Christ-likeness in everything you do. It's pursuing Christ-likeness, to me, means it's the pursuit of excellence in whatever you do. Everything you do, you're aiming to get better, improve your skills, excellence in your character, excellence in your integrity. It's the pursuit of extravagant love or radical love, which essentially is, you ask yourself the question, how can I be a blessing to as many people as possible today? How can everything that I do in my business and in my life be a blessing to everyone I interact with? And then you apply this from working with your highest paying clients to right the way down to the Twitter post that you want to put out, or X post as it's called now. Everything you do is to be a blessing. You act out of humble service, and you always think about how you can make it about the other person and helping the other person ahead of yourself, which then keeps pride at bay, for one. It's recognising that you are a steward of God's business and His resources and things, which again keeps pride out the way. When pride creeps in, things deteriorate quickly. And you apply that framework in what you do, and you apply this framework in the smallest time units that you can possibly think of. So you have to proactively apply these actions in every decision and micro decision, in fact, that you make, because if you don't, the spirit of the transactional secular marketplace will influence your decisions subconsciously, without you realizing it, which is exactly what happened to me. And then, the more you do it, the more misaligned you become. Because, you're transformative here, but you operate in a transactional world, and trying to inject impact into a transactional world doesn't exactly work. And that is the day-to-day mechanism. And when you need to anchor your vision, your life vision, your business vision in Christ, which would be infinite, eternal, and perfect, which is something you'll never be able to achieve, which intrinsically then gives everything you do meaning, because everything you do becomes an act of worship. Everything you do is the pursuit of getting better at what you do every single day, and it has an intrinsic meaning. And then that's kind of what the framework is. You have to anchor your identity in what it means to be a Christian, and to be aware of what it means and the core values that you're going to live your life by, and more importantly, the core values that you're going to operate your business by. And it's so important to have this as your anchor, as your foundation. In one of Jesus' parables, when he talks about the man that built his house on solid foundation compared to the one that built it on sand. When the storm comes, the one on the sand falls down, but the one on solid foundation stays up. if you anchor your identity, your business identity in Christ and Christian values, it is something that is never changing, and that means that every day, week, month, quarter, year, whatever it is, you can always stop what you're doing, and then you can just reassess. Have you drifted away from what your mission is, what your vision is, what your identity is? And then you have something objective that you can measure against, and then you can just make a slight adjustment, realign, recalibrate, and then you can head back towards it. If you don't root your identity in this solid foundation, you'll do what I did for several years, and that is you kind of build your house on sand, something that keeps moving. Sand always keeps moving with the tide, or in the desert when the wind blows, it's always moving around. And so, 1 month my target audience is this group of people, and then I can't get that to work, so the next month I change the people I want to work with to someone else, and then that doesn't work, so I change the group of people I want to work with to someone else. And how can you possibly make meaningful progress if you keep changing what your goal is? You kind of keep moving your goalposts. So you move down here and then the goalpost moves. Then you move over here and the goalpost moves. And you can never really make that meaningful progress because, quite frankly, without a solid foundation, in my experience, what I did was I was basically measuring my self-worth of achieving these arbitrary goals that I set myself, and then kept moving the goalposts based on my moment-to-moment emotions and wins. No wonder it failed. No wonder I felt burned out and disillusioned. And then also, the other reason why you need to anchor in Christian values as well as your core foundation for your life and business is so you can have integrity. If you don't have a solid foundation to base your integrity on, naturally, on a subconscious level, you're going to make decisions that are convenient for you or that align with your short-term best interests, which may not align with Christian values. And it's kind of impossible to have integrity if you don't have a solid foundation to anchor to, because you don't have anything to compare yourself to. You don't have anything to hold you accountable. And if there's nothing to hold you accountable that's kind of eternal, perfect and infinite, like I said, you're going to subjectively come up with your own definitions of what's right and wrong. And if it's subjective, it's going to change from time to time. And you may find that you make a decision today which is be the opposite of the decision you're making next week, but you think both of them are the right decision, but then opposites are then inconsistent because the one over here you compared it to this ideal and this kind of, this is where your integrity is, this is who you are as a character, this is where things are today based on your emotions. So I'm making this decision which aligns with it here, and then the one over here is based on this day's emotions, in this day's this and this day's that, so it's here. And that's what happened, and that's exactly what I did for years. So it's not just you, if that's the case. It's just, this is what I found that worked for me. Okay, so that's all I've got for you. That's the story of what it was the moment when I realised my business needed to change, and then how I found the purpose after years and years of struggle. And that's basically the framework that I'm teaching. If you are interested at all in that framework, please feel free to reach out to me. Contact me at sam@kingdomimpactlab.com, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you about things. That's all. See you next time.